There we go. We're live whenever you're ready.
Okay, yeah. So how are you doing today?
Living the dream. So I'm just here in Los Angeles, California, selling real estate for a living. So doing great.
All right, yeah. So this is a redo of the last time, but we're going to ask the same things as before. So today on Prospect Boss's channel, we are interviewing Bill Gross. Bill Gross is well known in the real estate industry. He specializes in probate leads, and he helps agents invest in real estate. So Bill, can you tell us a little bit more about what you do and how you help agents?
Well, sure. Thanks so much. I have been in real estate longer than you've been alive, Summer, for 36 years, and gone through different iterations over time. And about 4 years ago, had to relaunch. I had been in management, recruiting, and coaching, and had done well with it, but I didn't like the people I was working for, and I wanted to have more control and build my own business. That's why I got into real estate in the first place. So I relaunched, and so 4 years ago, I did some very deep analysis of my business and the market, and made a decision to find a niche, and made that niche probate real estate. And I focused on it the last 4 years. I just really rebuilt from scratch a great business. I make a great income. I've built wealth. I have equity in the business that's transferable and sellable, and it's been life changing. And then I think along the way, I've been able to do it in a way that helps me help agents build their businesses, as well as help families and attorneys build theirs. So it's been a really exciting process for me.
Okay, and can you tell us a little bit more about how you got started in the industry?
Funny story. I was in electronics and computers, and I went to lunch with my brother who was in the business. And on the way back from lunch, he said, "Hey, let's stop in and just pretend like you're my partner." And so I did. And it was kind of interesting the way he talked to people. And I was more about computers, electronics was about figuring things out and research and analysis, but it was more corporate. And this was just talking to people in an office about their house. And we went to lunch again a week later, and the same thing. And I said to him, "This is really kind of fun. If this is what you do for work, how can we work together?" And so we found a format where we kind of built our own business separately, and we started 36 years ago. I started with my brother, and then we went our own separate ways business-wise. We're still close, but we just had different, philosophies and different geographies. But so I started the business working with my brother, and then I started in the loan business of real estate, and then moved into sales after 2008. With all the lenders kind of melted down, I found that my success was so dependent on the company, and real estate gave me a chance to build my own business and find my own path. And so it's been really good for me in that regard.
Okay, and what do you mean by success is dependent on the company? So does that mean the culture, the employees, procedures, or just a little bit of everything?
I think all that. I think when you're a lender, if you represent a bank, you work for Chase or Blvd, when I started, the biggest lenders in the business, the three biggest were Home Savings, they're gone. Great Western Bank, they're gone. Their motto was, "We'll always be there," they're gone. And number three, American Savings Bank was another one. Blvd and Wells Fargo were big companies. They're basically gone. What we see today of Bank of America is really North Carolina National Bank bought the bankrupt Bank of America, including the brand, and changed their name. Wells Fargo was bankrupt, was bought by Wachovia and changed their name. So the top lenders even, at one point, my wife was upset with me about our fortunes had been hurt really hard. I said to her, "Look, every top bank and every top savings and loan is out of business. I'm still here. I'm doing better than Bank of America was. I'm doing better than Home Savings was." So it was challenging in that, these companies, I think, the larger they get, the management is less interested in the customer and less interested in the employees in the front line. And I just always found that, no matter how good I was, companies would one day say, "Oh, we want to change our strategy," and a bunch of people be affected by it. They didn't really care. They didn't have to call the customer and say, "Sorry, your loan isn't going to close on time, and your house won't close on time, and you're stuck in a motel for 3 weeks." The managers never make those phone calls. Only the loan officers did. So it was so dependent on, the price, service, But I think at the end of the day, the culture of companies, the bigger they are, the less they're interested in their customers. And I think for me, the beauty of real estate is, I'm the one that answers my customer, that forces me to do a good job and that punishes me when I do a bad job. And that's why when you're still in business and you do high volume, it means a lot of people appreciate your value and your service. One of my coaches taught me that the money we receive is reflection of the value we create for other people. And so for me to make money as a realtor, I have to create value for my sellers or the attorneys I work with or the other realtors that I help build their business. And so it keeps me focused on that. I think when you work for a company, no matter how good they are, if you think it's the company, in my experience, one day they won't be that good or they won't be around, and that's going to affect your business.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The lack of personalization can definitely hurt a company and a business in the long run. So what would some advice for real estate agents who want to get started in real estate investing be? Maybe in someone who's just an agent, they've been an agent for a while or a broker, and they want to get started in investing instead. What advice would you give for them?
I think the number one thing I always say to people is there's no one right way to invest. There's a right way to invest for you. And too many people spend time going on podcasts and meetings and they hear this method and that method and this method and that method, and they're all great. But the question is, what do you want to do and how do you want to do it? And what are you good at? I have a class I do for my probate mastery program called Finding Your Unique Selling Proposition. You want to find the intersection of what you're good at, what you like to do, and what the market needs. If you stay in that spot, you create a lot of value and you're going to enjoy your process. I have a very good friend who, he and I both went to a real estate meetup we started about 4 years ago. And about the time I started my probate business, right after I started, he discovered for him a niche, which was land sales. Not for everybody, but it fit for him. And the last 4 years, he's built a great business in land. I've built a great business in probate. And the one thing we both have in common is I think we both made a decision to find the niche that we enjoyed and a process that we enjoyed. And that's allowed us to both be successful. I think you, as an investor, I love buying real estate, but I buy limited partnerships in multifamily properties. I love getting quarterly reports and I love getting checks. I don't like dealing with the property. I don't like going to the houses. I don't like collecting rent. My brother retired with a portfolio of single family homes. He bought them and over 15 years, they all paid off and he lives on that money very nicely. But he enjoyed getting those phone calls on the weekend when the manager wasn't available. He enjoyed going out and clearing toilets and things. Nothing wrong with it. You have to know what you do well and what you enjoy and find the right investment program for what you do. And I'll say one other thing on that. I guess all the time, what's the easiest way to make a lot of money? The easiest way to make a lot of money, in my experience after 36 years, is to work hard at something every day and do a good job. Because there's no real easy way to be successful at anything in life that's of value. Anything of value is worth the price we have to pay to earn it.
So how did you said you find your niche and what you're good at and stick to it. So how did you find the niche of probate leads or focusing on probate law?
So, I think I went to a presentation by a man who's now my sponsor at my real estate company, Don Hobbs. Don Hobbs was Tony Robbins' first sales manager. Don Hobbs was the founder of Hobbs Herder Advertising, the first real estate focused marketing consultancy. He was the president of Success Magazine. He's a great guy. And so he does a program called The Brand Is You, and the importance of a realtor creating a brand. The mistake we think as real estate agents is the brand is our logo and our picture on everything. The brand is what value do you create in the marketplace? Those things are just some of the reflections of that. They may not be the most important. So what I did was I really did a deep dive again on the three things I just mentioned to you. What am I good at? And I literally took a whiteboard. I have one in the other room. I have a rolling whiteboard I use for brainstorming. And I made 3 lists. What am I good at? What I like to do? And what's the market need? And, I had a large percentage of my customers were attorneys. My father was an attorney. I clerked for attorneys when I was in high school and college to make money. So I knew the business of attorneys, I knew the style of attorneys better than most realtors. But that's not everything. Then you have to look at, what do I enjoy doing? I enjoyed going to court. I enjoyed getting dressed up and putting on a suit and tie and going to the county courthouse. Now, many people don't. Many people hate that. But to me, it was kind of fun and it was dignified and I enjoyed it. It's just an example of that list. And the third, with the market need, I found when I went to court, I found a lot of families who needed good legal support and were getting bad legal support. I found a lot of attorneys who had cases who knew nothing what they were doing and they needed help. And so I looked at those three and said, well, I like doing that. I'm good at that. And I can help these people. And so I found that as my unique selling proposition, which was I became the LA probate expert to help families and attorneys get the best outcome on selling their real estate. So that worked for me, but so I'm not saying that's the right outcome for anybody else. I'm saying the process is list off and get clear on it and spend time. I literally spent a whole day. What am I good at? What do I like to do? And what's the market need? And then you look for where those line up and that becomes your business.
Okay. How long have you been in the niche of probate leads?
Almost exactly 4 years.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Whatever you seem to find that you're good at it, motivated at, what you're excited to do, like you said, getting dressed up and going to court, just random things that you like, it's what you're going to put the most effort in, and then you'll have the most success there.
Yeah.
So let's get into a little bit more detail and let's talk about prospecting. How do you prospect for real estate investing, and what are some tips you can give our viewers?
The number one thing you have to do is build your current foundation or center of influence or sphere of influence or your Mets list. You got to start with that. And I think oftentimes people go into real estate because they don't want to talk to people. You can't be a successful real estate agent without talking to people. It's just not possible. It's not possible in the long run. It's not possible at scale. You might stumble across a deal now and then, but at the end of the day, the more people you talk to, the more opportunities you have, the more money you can make. And people won't do business with you if they don't like you, trust you, and know you first, and then like you and trust you. So you have to start with the people who already know, like, and trust you. Once you start with them and let them know that you're looking or you're a real estate investor, and solicit them for what you're looking for. In my case, I went to my database and told them I am specialized in probate and I go to court and I'm trying to help families who need help. And I had people in my database who referred me business as a result of that. Now, and I used ProspectBoss to do that. I took my database, loaded all the phone numbers into the dialer and just called them through. I had about 300 or 400 people in my database. And frankly, I didn't get all the way through the whole thing because just talking to people that I knew, I got enough leads where I ended up getting busy enough. Now I email that whole list and I social media that whole list all the time, but I don't have the time to do outbound calling to strangers anymore because I've built so much. So I have so many people who know me, like me, trust me, that they call me and set appointments to talk to me, which is the goal of the prospecting. The goal is not to spend the rest of your life grinding on the phone 3 or 4 hours a day on outbound calls. The goal is to do 3 or 4 hours a day for a period of time so that eventually people start calling you, and maybe then you have a team or people you delegate to continue prospecting while you can enjoy the fruits of your labor when it comes in. That's my approach.
Yeah, I mean, you want to create such a strong foundation that like you said, you can build a team. So all those things that you put in the beginning, which would be doing all the calls for several hours a day, someone else can do it so that you can focus on the bigger things at scale.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some good sources for leads for real estate investing, and what have you found successful?
Well, again, I think it depends on what you want. And when you say real estate investing, that's a broad topic. For me personally, I want to invest as a limited partner in multifamily projects with 200 units or more, managed by a professional team that has done a few. So I go on to as many different meetups and Zoom calls and networking events in the multifamily space. And I like to meet the people. I like to see what they say. I also created my own podcast. And the beauty of that is I call people up and say, hey, I have a podcast to other investors who are looking to invest in this product. I don't tell them that I am. I'd love to interview you. The truth is, I'm evaluating them and how they handle that. Do they have a phone number? Do they have an email address? They get back to me. Are they organized? They show up on time. If they can't show up on time, they can't, I'm not gonna give them any money. And so I've both helped promote them to other people, but discovered who I want to work with and who I don't want to work with by the virtue of doing marketing my own business. And so as a real estate agent, I both put out to my database, hey, I can help you find good investments, but I also vet the investments. And that's how I found the best deals I've invested in.
Okay. And do you use like the MLS at all for the prospecting or any other tools like that?
So prospecting as a real estate broker, yes. As an investor, no. I only invest outside of California. So because I live here, my business is here. So to diversify, I invest in other states. So the MLS isn't a source for me for my investment business. I use the MLS for my real estate brokerage business or probate business. I do, though, find probate deals for investors here in this area, and I use the MLS to do that, as well as create my own customized list of investment opportunities I send out to my prospects.
Okay. So would you say that's a certain amount of time that, or of experience someone should have as like a real estate broker before they maybe moved on to doing real estate investing?
No,
or it's just
no.
how much work they're willing to put into it?
So to me, an investor, all that means is that you're in it for the return, not for the income, right? If you're in it for the income, you're going to flip a deal and you're going to buy a house, sell it, and make a profit and live on that money. That's not an investor. That's a business of house flipping. The same person might buy the property and flip it for profit, but turn it into a rental. They're flipping it to themselves as a rental. That's an investor. Land, for example, if people buy land and hold it for 20 years in their own 401ks or their retirement programs, that's an investor. If you buy land and resell it and you take that income and you pay your expenses, that's really a professional real estate person who's using land as their niche. So I think there's a lost distinction in those two terms. And you like any business, you can start it with no experience. You don't need to have any money or experience to be in the business of real estate. As an investor, you don't have to have any experience. You just have to have money that you need to put to work. Though I think that you have to be more careful, depending on how much you have, you have to be more careful when you start because you don't know as much. So for example, one great opportunity, you can invest in real estate investment trusts, where these are professionals who have, it's like buying stock, but instead of a stock, they have a collection of assets and they pay their investors based on the profits of the company. But you get to learn about that particular niche. So there's real estate investment trusts, REITs, that focus on single family homes. Some are on public storage, multifamily, commercial, retail, industrial. One of my favorites is an industrial property here in LA, actually, called Rexford Industrial. And they're NASDAQ traded, and I don't make a killing on it, but you make decent money on it. And so I think as an investor, when all investor means is you're not living on that income for your day-to-day expenses. The goal is to get there. And then once you're there, the investor's living on his returns. But if you're living on the money you're getting, then you're not really an investor. That's the business they're in. So an investor, I think, can start with no money and no experience. Find a niche that works well for those people. Real estate agency is one, wholesaling is one, land sales is a great one. And then you can make enough money to have extra to invest in real estate on the side. But as a real estate investor, people have a job, let's say a 9 to 5, and they have extra money. You could invest today. You don't need to start. Just find a program that offers a good return and safety and the proper check boxes for you personally. You can start right away.
Okay, yeah, that's really good advice. So, going off of that, if I did make that switch or someone who wants to get started into real estate investing in general, maybe they're not already an agent or broker, what is the adversity that they're going to have and how are they going to overcome it?
Well, I think there's two ways to approach, getting into real estate as a business. One is as an employee and one is as an entrepreneur. And I think that most people are confused and get confused along the way. Many people, their goal is to be an entrepreneur and they start as an employee. They go work for a brokerage. It takes a big chunk of their money, charges them fees, tells them what they can and can't do. And which is fine when you start. You're really an employee learning the business from somebody else until you're ready to build your own business. When I started in the loan business, I knowingly went to work for a big bank because I wanted to learn from them. But my goal, I was always an entrepreneur. I knew that I was going to spend a year or two learning from the big bank, just like I might go to college. I went to college, but I'm saying just like one might go to college, but they're paying me. In the end of 2 years, I had the opportunity to open my own shop. And I was an entrepreneur from that point on. And I've pretty much been entrepreneur almost the entire time since. So you just have to know which you are. And then sometimes you'll make the decision, I'm not ready to open my own shop yet. And part of my building my own business is spending a year or two as an apprentice to somebody else and learning what they do and how they do it so I can replicate that in my own business. So you can start right away. If you're not really ready to do it on your own, if you don't have a format that you know that's going to work, then go find somebody else who's willing to pay you. And I always tell people, get any job you can that's going to pay you in the field you want to learn when you're young. Because even if you're getting minimum wage, you get paid something. If they're paying you, they're going to pay attention to what you're doing. If they're not paying you, they'll tell you, oh, we're going to really help you, but they're not going to because they're not invested in you. So even if you get a job as an office clerk or whatever the lowest level would be in an office, changing copy paper and coffee, do that so well that they need you for something else. And then eventually you'll learn more and more and more, and that will help train you to you're ready to start your own business.
Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, most of the most successful people had to start at the bottom, like you said, and really get at that apprenticeship or internship so they can learn the ins and outs of the business and that way work their way up with a strong foundation. So what can an agent who's getting started do to stay motivated and get better at their craft on a daily basis?
Yeah, I think the first thing is realize that mindset is a critical skill every day. You have to have a plan. You have to work at it every day. When I coach agents, I advise them, I first do an intake. What are you watching? What are you listening to? And what are you reading? Because you can change who you are and you can change what you are by changing what goes into your mind. That's a quote from Zig Ziglar. If you're watching news and dramatic TV shows, they're almost always negative. You're going to be negative. And so I listen to only music, not the radio, but I use YouTube music because it takes, I subscribe to YouTube Premium so I can watch YouTubes without ads, and I get YouTube music without ads. So when I first get up, I put music on to get me up and going. I have upbeat music I listen to. I watch YouTube videos all day long about real estate investing, mindset, positive things. I'm very careful who I listen to. I read a lot. I read a lot of good books. I love books of history, of great people, what they've accomplished. The stories always include how they struggled before they were great. And so I read, those things. And so I tell people all the time, you really have to be working your brain all the time, just like somebody's personal hygiene includes showering and if they're not using soap or shampoo, well, why don't you try that? There's certain basic minimums. I would say basic minimum is to have a plan of what you watch, listen to, and read. And even seemingly innocuous things. Like I watch, a little bit of football. My wife's a big fan. My daughter's a big football fan. I used to be. I'm not so interested now, but I more hang out with them. I just find the advertisements so negative, so toxic. It just hurts. Like my mind now is so positive. I'm so attuned to it that it hurts to watch the commercials that other people are watching because they're so destructive. And so just be aware the world around you wants you to be dependent on them so they can feed you and sell you whatever they want to sell you. And if you want to be successful and determine your own path in life, be very careful what you put into your mind.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't realize the little things that we are hearing, seeing, through advertisements conversation TV really affects our day in and day out activities and beliefs. So you've given us some great information today, and we want to thank you for being on our show. How can people get in contact with you who want to learn more?
Sure. So if you want to learn about probate, I host a free live cast every Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. And then we record it called probateweekly.com. You can go to probateweekly.com and sign up, and we'll send you reminders and all that. It's a Zoom call. You can participate live, ask questions. I usually interview a industry professional in probate, attorneys and vendors and such. And then you can see the past episodes at episodes.probateweekly.com. Or I'm on social media at Bill Gross EXP. I'm with EXP Realty. So at Bill Gross EXP on whatever social media you're watching.
Okay. And I know you have a YouTube channel. Can you share with us the details of what you cover on your YouTube channel and maybe the types of things that you cover on your podcast and also? Sure.
So Probate Weekly is probate focus, is mostly focused towards realtors, investors who are working every day in the probate space. And my goal there is every week to interview an industry professional, attorneys, vendors, to kind of learn about the business. I'm a practitioner. I'm not selling coaching. I'm not selling data. And so my goal is I have that program so I can interview people and learn from them and then share with them, what I learned. The YouTube channel is a collection of that podcast. I have a real estate investing podcast as well. And as well as we take it all in snippets and cut up different interviews that I do both on the live streams or separately. Like I interviewed Gary about ProspectBoss. That's on my YouTube channel. So I try to learn as a real estate agent and then record that and share that with my team and my followers. So my YouTube channel is a pretty rich resource. So if you just search Bill Gross EXP on YouTube, you'll find me there, or youtube.com/Bill Gross EXP.
Okay. And I believe you shared your contact information with us previously on people who want to reach out with you directly.
Yeah. Well, sure. Feel free to call me. Unlike most realtors, my phone number is available. I don't get that many that I can't manage the flow or whatever, but my phone number is 310-210-0008. And you can call or text me anytime. I may not answer it. If I'm on this call, I'm on Do Not Disturb, but I usually get back to anybody and be glad to talk to you.
All right. Well, thank you for your time today. That was some great information. Thanks for the opportunity to do a redo also.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you so much. It was great, as always, talking to you, and really appreciate ProspectBoss and Gary and the whole team. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.